Hello everyone and welcome to my new Baldur's Gate 3 video. Today we're gonna talk about all the new subclasses that Larian released in their newest update about the game. As we know, the game is coming 4 weeks early. I did a video about that, and now we're gonna get into all of the new subclasses that we have available, and I'm gonna try to explain to you as best as I can what is the flavor of the class and also explain the abilities that we're gonna have in them. Obviously Larian homebrews a lot of stuff in Baldur's Gate 3, so it's not gonna be the exact copy. I just want to show you how it's gonna more or less function and what the class is all about. So let us begin with the Wild Magic Barbarian. I must say I never played this class in tabletop D&D, so I wasn't sure what it's all gonna be about. I thought it's gonna be more of a Gish type of barbarian, borrowing from some of the wizard wild mage stuff with your own spellbook, with some spells you're gonna cast during your turn and stuff like that, but it's actually more of a support barbarian that can aid your allies in battle, and also you can aid yourself with some cool neat stuff you can do on your turn, and of course a bit of randomness to it as well. I must say I also found this amazing website called Tabletop Job, which has a lot of resources, and kudos to them. It has a lot of great information that helped me make this video. So what is the Wild Magic Barbarian D&D 5th edition? Also remember, I can't stress this enough, that obviously Larian's gonna make the class a bit different, so don't take everything we're gonna see here as a one-to-one. They're gonna probably change some abilities. It's not gonna be exactly like this, but we can guarantee that some of the stuff, or most even of it, the flavor and everything, will get into the full game. And when we get the full details, obviously I'm gonna start doing builds for those classes that will be actually from the game. But now I just want to tell you guys more or less and help you to decide what appeals to you basically, and what class might be in your direction. So the first thing we're gonna get as a Wild Magic Barbarian is Magic Awareness, which is basically a built-in detect magic. It can be very useful, more so maybe in tabletop than in the games, but we'll see how we're gonna actually have it approached in the CRPG. It's a cool feature, but the most important is actually Wild Surge, which is very core to the whole idea of this barbarian. When you enter your rage, roll on the wild magic table to determine the magical effect produced. If the effect requires a saving throw, the DC equals 8 plus your proficiency bonus plus your constitution modifier. We'll see if it's gonna come to the game in exactly this form. Thankfully, all of the options of the Wild Magic Barbarian's Wild Magic table are beneficial. This is very cool, unlike the Wild Magic variant of the Wizard, which can sometimes turn you into something or make you have Fireball shoot in your face. In Wild Magic Barbarian, actually every effect is beneficial. Once you activate your rage, you're gonna actually roll a d8 to determine what effect you're gonna get. There are 8 different effects, and again, all of them are beneficial. For example, you can teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see until your rage ends, and you can use this effect again on each of your turn as a bonus action. Very neat if you want to move around the battlefield. Shadowy Tendril Slash around you. This is if you roll a 1, for example, in tabletop. Each creature of your choice that you can see within 30 feet of you must succeed a constitution saving throw or take 1d12 necrotic damage. You also gain 1d12 temporary hit points. Very good to stay in the thick of battle and doing some cool stuff on the front lines. So I'm not going to list all of them, but all of them are pretty cool, and you can of course pause the video and read every single one of them, because I don't want this video to take forever. So let's get to the next ability, which is Bolstering Magic on level 6. If you stay pure, if you stay on the path of the barbarian, you're gonna have as an action you can touch one creature, which can be yourself, and confer one of the following benefits of your choice to the creature. Details below. You can take this action a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus, and you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Bolstering Magic is an interesting feature that lets you offer some helpful effects to your allies. We have 2 of them, and I think one of them is, well, I'm not gonna say strictly better than the other, but it's very, very good. So option 1 is for 10 minutes, the creature can roll a d3 whenever making an attack roll or an ability check, and add the number rolled to the d20 roll. This is very good, especially in the early levels, but it's gonna be beneficial to you throughout the whole game, because on average you're gonna get a +2 bonus to attacks and abilities. Another one is roll a d3, the creature regains 1 expended spell slot, the level of which equals the number rolled or lower, the creature's choice. So you can choose if you want to restore the first level or third or second. Once a creature receives this benefit, that creature can't receive it again until a long rest. So this is very useful on the early levels when you have limited spell slots and you want to restore some of your healing abilities or a fireball and stuff like that. So it's very good on early levels. Then it falls a little bit behind the power curve, and you're probably gonna use more of the first option, but it's still two very good supportive actions that you can take. And then on level 10, so closing in on the level cap in Baldur's Gate 3, which is 12, it was confirmed on the last panel. Unstable backlash, actually not panel, but the information we just got yesterday. No, 2 days ago already. The time flies and I can't wait to just play the game already. Unstable backlash, level 10. So I think we can all agree that wild magic surges are fun. I agree as well, but do you know what's even more fun? Even more wild magic surges. Immediately after you take damage or fail a saving throw while raging, you can use your reaction to roll on the wild magic table and immediately produce the effect rolled. This effect replaces your current wild magic effect. This is really great because you can either inflict damage to yourself or just wait for someone to attack you, and you're gonna get one of the beneficial effects that we listed before. And also, if you roll something on your attack that you necessarily don't like very much, you can replace it with something new, so it's very neat. And that concludes the abilities that we get so far on the wild magic table in the Wild Magic Barbarian. Obviously, as I say, it's from the tabletop, so Larian is open to do anything they want. They can add something else. We know that they're gonna add stuff to the monks, so probably to other subclasses they're gonna add something from themselves as well. We're not gonna talk about level 14 and up because the level cap so far is level 12, although we know that with mods it's probably gonna be raised further, but there's no point to talk about it right now. If there's gonna be some cool mods and something along the lines in the future, I'm probably gonna still be making videos and we're gonna make some really cool builds. But that concludes the Wild Magic Barbarian, and let us now move to Circle of Spores Druid, quite a requested subclass, focusing more on the necromantic aspects and also animating that, stuff like that, and also being more in melee. As you get more hit points, you forgo your wild shapes and you actually get into the battle with your shillelagh, cantrip, and just smack faces, and also choose what you want to do during your turn because there's quite a lot. The class in tabletop suffers quite a bit from med, so from multiple ability scores that you have to pick to make this subclass quite viable, because you have to both be in melee, you want to still cast spells, stuff like that, and it also suffers a bit from action economy because you're not sure always what you want to do during your turn, because there's a lot to do with your bonus action, with your main action. Do you want to blow up your spores, or do you want to give yourself HP, and stuff like that? So we'll see how Larian tackles it. I'm not gonna be surprised if they're gonna move some actions to actually bonus actions, stuff like that, to make the class more fun. I'm sure they're gonna make it very cool to play because people really seem to like the flavor of the subclass. So let's just get into what you actually do as this druid. So druids of this subclass roll in the party thrive on the front lines, which makes the shillelagh cantrip a must-have if it wasn't already. They tend to be pretty tough and can use their wild shape to buff themselves further instead of changing form. With their abilities to add extra damage from their halo of spores each round, reanimate enemies that die near them, and gain a healthy amount of temporary hit points with symbiotic entity, the Circle of Spores Druid is capable of both giving and taking heavy punishment. All in all, Spores Druid can be deceptively tanky while also cranking out fairly consistent damage. So expect to see the Spores Druid right on the front lines in melee combat as they lay the smackdown on enemies with a combination of melee attacks, spores, and spells. They can throw a ton of pressure to their foes. Spells that control the area or enemies like Spike Growth and Entangle are must-haves. Ideally, the Druid is also taking spells that help their abilities to stand on the front line, like Healing Spirit, for example. Very good summary, but now let us get into the actual abilities. Obviously, as a druid subclass, we're gonna get specific spells added to our spellbook, which is Chill Touch, Blindness, Deafness. Remember, some of those spells probably won't make into the final game. We have the list of the new spells that we're gonna get, and I'm probably gonna make a video on the new spells as well, but not all of them, from what I remember, will be in the game, unless, of course, we're gonna learn something new on the panel from Hell and before the game releases. So we also have Blindness, we know this is in the game. Gentle Repose, we know that Cloud Kill is in the game. We know that Animate Dead is in the game. Not sure about Gaseous Form, Confusion, Contagion, so some very nice spells to choose from. Halo of Spores, level 2. This is one of our staples that we're gonna use. When a creature you can see moves into space within 10 feet of you or starts its turn there, you can use your reaction to deal 1d4 necrotic damage to that creature unless it succeeds on a Constitution saving throw against your spell save DC. The necrotic damage increases to 1d6 at level 6, 1d8 at level 10, and 1d10 at level 14. The last one doesn't concern us, the level cap is so far 12. With their Halo of Spores ability, these druids are able to deal extra damage to creatures that can get too close and fail their constitution saving throw. The damage is small, but it scales as you level up, as it grows with you, and you know, on you. Usually in the tabletop, druids don't get many uses of their reaction ability, so this is something you can use on that, and it's actually pretty useful. A symbiotic entity, this is another staple. As an action, you can expand the use of your wild shape feature to awaken your spores rather than transforming into a beast form. I said, we forgo shapeshifting to have this thing with us. You gain 4 temporary hit points for each level you have in this class, so this makes us quite tanky. While this feature is active, roll the damage die from your Halo of Spores feature a second time and add it to the total damage. Additionally, your melee attack weapon attacks deal an extra 1d6 necrotic damage to any target they hit, so still continuing on the necrotic and necromancy path. This benefits lasts for 10 minutes until you lose all these temporary hit points or until you use your wild shape again. This is important. You need to know how different are temporary hit points to your overall health pool, so if you lose these additional points, you're actually gonna lose this ability, so it's important to actually keep in shape to keep your numbers up, your HP numbers up. So as you can probably tell, it's very good to combine those two, Halo of Spores with Symbiotic Entity. I'm sure it's gonna be some great synergy in the actual game, and it's actually gonna do neat damage and also make you beefier so you can stay in the thick of battle. Fungal Infestation at level 6. If a beast or humanoid that is small or medium-sized creature dies within 10 feet of you, you can use your reaction to animate it, causing it to stand up immediately with 1 hit point. It's a cool trick to have your zombies around you if you want to go that direction, but again, it is your reaction, so it will take away from your previous abilities. This is again our action economy that we have to focus on. We're gonna have to pick and choose what we want to do as a druid, but I'm not gonna be surprised if they will buff a little bit this fungal infestation, because 1 HP zombies are just meat shields that will just die, obviously probably 1 hit, but it's still good probably in choke points or when you just need some extra bodies to throw on the enemy. It's still useful, but again, it's gonna be a lot of stuff you can do during turns, but that's why we play D&D, so we have a lot of choices, so it's very, very nice to have an excellent addition to our repertoire. Spreading Spores on level 10, another action we're gonna get. This is a cool little area of effect that you can add to your arsenal. For example, as pointed out, you can combo it with Entangle to restrict enemies and cast this thing on someone, and they're gonna constantly every turn take more damage, so it is a pretty neat trick to have along with your other abilities. And this concludes our Circle of Spores Druid. Next up, we have the Champion Fighter. Pretty straightforward class, focusing on critical strikes, improving your criticals, and, well, despite being quite simple, very effective. On level 3, you get weapon attack score, a critical hit on a roll of 19 to 20, so your critical chance pretty much increases by 5% to a total of 10% on average. Then later on level 15, you actually get superior critical, but we have level cap of 12, so I don't think we're gonna get this into the game, unless Larian again changes something and maybe makes us even more powerful to do even more crits. I think they will do something with this class because it's just simply a bit too simple. It has very little abilities, so I'm hoping that they're gonna make it more interesting. On level 7, you get Remarkable Athlete. You can add half your proficiency bonus rounded up to any strength, dexterity, or constitution check you make that doesn't already use your proficiency bonus. In addition, when you make a running long jump, the distance you can cover increases by a number of feet equal to your strength modifier. More useful in D&D, very situational ability. I won't be surprised if they're gonna add something to it as well in the final game. Additional fighting style. Remember, you cannot stack them. You cannot take twice, for example, two weapon fighting and stuff like that, so you won't make it a bonus, so most of you will probably take defense just to increase your armor class by 1. You can choose a second option from the fighting class feature, but also if you, for example, want to maybe add some archery to your repertoire, so you just can shoot people, obviously, when you are not in range, so you're just gonna be better at range as well. To be more versatile, you can also choose, for example, archery if you didn't pick it already. Next up, we have the Gloom Stalker Ranger. One of my favorite subclasses, focuses on subterfuge, on fighting better in dark spaces, hailing mostly from Underdark, but not only. A very cool class and also very powerful. Role in the party, Gloom Stalkers mixed with Ranger class, exploring utility with some rogue class elements to become exceptional ambushers. It's a subclass that can hit hard and fast without sacrificing any durability or scouting utility. Obviously, we're gonna get specific spells to our Ranger spellbook. We're gonna get Disguise Self, Rope Trick, I'm not sure if it's gonna be in the game, Fear, not sure if Greater Invisibility will make it into the game because it's a very powerful late game spell, but we'll see. It's normally on level 13, so by default it would not be in the game because we have the cap at 12 right now. And we know that Seeming is in the game as a spell, but it's on level 17 for a ranger, so I think it's gonna be more towards the more spellcasting classes that will be able to use in the game. Not sure if the Gloom Stalker will be able to use it. It's a very fun ability, I mean, very cool spell to use. But anyway, those are very situational, I must say. Your wisdom won't be super high as a ranger. It's probably gonna be around 14, maybe 16 with items, or maybe, I don't know, maybe you're gonna want to pump it more, obviously, more power to you. So Fear will not always land, but it is very useful to have. This guy's self, will see if this stuff will make it into the game. But the main selling point of the Gloom Stalker is Dread Ambusher. Gains a bonus to your initiative rolls equal to your wisdom modifier. So again, you want to have your wisdom quite high up, but not your priority. Probably you're gonna focus on dexterity, or even the strength variant is also viable. At the start of your first turn of each combat, your walking speed increases by 10 feet, which lasts until the end of the turn. If you take the attack action on that turn, you can make one additional weapon attack as part of the action. If that attack hits, the target takes an extra 1d8 damage of the weapon's damage time. This is crazy good, I agree, because not only do you get a better initiative, is that on the first turn you are actually able to make another attack. If you're gonna dual wield, that means you can potentially, even on level 3 already, you can make 3 attacks, because one from the initiative, the second from your basic attack, and the third one from your offhand. So this is just amazing. You can pretty much one-shot something on the first turn. For example, if there is an annoying caster that you have to deal with and you have better speed, it's just amazing and very cool to use. You also have Umbral Sight, which is also an amazing ability, at least in tabletop. You gain Dark Vision up to 60 feet. If you already have Dark Vision from your race, its range increases by 30 feet, so it's gonna be a stunning 90 feet radius if you already play, for example, a Drow. You are also adept at evading creatures that rely on Dark Vision. While in darkness, you are invisible to any creature that relies on Dark Vision to see you in the darkness. This is great in tabletop when you fight in caves and stuff like that. It's not very hard to actually stay in the dark places. We'll see how it's gonna be in Baldur's Gate, but we know that we obviously have Underdark. We have a lot of dark spaces that we can get into, but remember, you cannot have any light source around you, any candles, any torches, or otherwise this will not be activated. I'm really curious how it's going to be implemented, but I probably should first say what it's actually about to explain it a bit more. It basically gives you greater invisibility in places that people cannot see you, and also the others that rely on dark vision will not be able to see you. So this is just amazing, a bit situational, but when it works, it just smashes. So it's just a great thing to have, and it's gonna just make the fighting very exciting if you choose to go for the subclass, because it just relies on mobility, stuff like that, and positioning too. So it's very, very cool. Iron Mind is quite good. You gain proficiency in wisdom saving throws. Our wisdom gonna be acceptable, pretty high, so it actually adds to our saving throws, which are a lot of spells use wisdom saving throws. But if you already have this proficiency from something, you can choose intelligence or charisma. So this is a cool thing to have, but not exactly super wow. Stalker's Flurry on level 11, so almost at our level cap. Once on each of your turn, when you miss with a weapon attack, you can make another weapon attack as part of the same action. Pretty straightforward. Once per turn, you're getting to make another attack if one of your other weapon attack misses. But there are a couple of key points worth mentioning about this feature. I'm gonna read it out because this is written way better than I'm gonna probably say it. It might be tempting to just consider this as having advantage on the attack roll, but that would be incorrect. In fact, it's much better than having advantage. If you're attacking an enemy from the shadows, you would be gaining advantage with your Umbral Sight feature. If one of those attacks still misses, it happens, you're now getting an additional attack that would also be at advantage. Though be mindful of how Stalker's Flurry stacks with Dread Ambusher. Very important to know. So again, this is really good. Also, it's a very powerful class if you want to go the range route. It's very good, especially that we have confirmed some specialties and crossbows and stuff like that. It's going to be a very powerful sniper from the Shadows character, for example. So it's a great class. Next up, pretty thematically, we have the Assassin Rogue, which actually meshes pretty well with the Gloom Stalker if you would decide to multi-class, for example. The Assassin's role in the party, the Assassin Rogue largely fits the typical expectations of a rogue role in the party. They maneuver around the battlefield and strike at enemies when and where they are most vulnerable. This is a very position also heavy subclass that actually relies a lot on your allies, how they position, and you have to communicate with your party. So I really wonder how they're gonna implement this subclass. But let's go into the actual abilities. Assassinate. At 3rd level, the assassin gets their bread and butter ability. With the assassinate ability, the assassin gets advantage on attack rolls against any creature that hasn't taken a turn in combat yet. So initiative, very important. Gloom Stalker actually has additional initiative, so it's very good too. Actually, maybe multi-class. Plus, any hits you score against a creature that is surprised are automatically considered to be a critical hit. A surprised creature will not have had the chance to act in combat yet. Against a surprised creature, you roll your attack with advantage and get an automatic critical hit if your attack lands. This is incredible and well worth the time to set up situations where the assassin can initiate combat to get this bonus. I agree. Also, very important to note, in tabletop D&D, assassins get bonus proficiency in disguise kits. I'm not sure if the disguise kits are available in Baldur's Gate 3, but it is something that defines assassins in tabletop. So I really wonder again what's gonna happen in the game. I'm sure it's gonna be quite fun, and you're gonna actually be able maybe to talk as someone else or disguise as another race and talk to someone that would normally be hostile to you. Maybe in the goblin camp, maybe you'll be able to turn into a goblin. That would be amazing. Well, not literally turn into them, but disguises them. I think it has some great role-playing potential. Infiltration expertise, our last ability we're gonna get as an assassin in Baldur's Gate 3 at level 9, unless the level cap gets raised again, who knows. At level 9, the assassin gains the infiltration expertise ability. With this, you are able to create a new identity. This can be very useful for infiltrating certain organizations and getting close to targets. After a week of work and 25 gold pieces, you have a new identity complete with an established story. So I'm not gonna go through all that, but as you can tell, it is very geared towards a specific scenario when you're playing at the tabletop. So I'm very curious, seriously, what Larian's gonna do with the assassin in the actual game. Next up, we have the Storm Sorcerer, quite a niche subclass of the Sorcerer, very specific, very flavorful as well. So let's get into it. In tabletop, you actually get Wind Speaker, which means you can speak, read, and write primordial. So for elements of fire, water, air, and earth, you can speak in those languages. I wonder if they even are implemented in Baldur's Gate, if they will be useful, or will they replace it with something else for the Storm Sorcerer. But also you get Tempestuous Magic. You can use a bonus action on your turn to cast whirling gusts of elemental air to briefly surround you immediately before or after you cast a spell of level 1 or higher. Doing so allows you to fly up to 10 feet without provoking opportunity attacks. This is neat, this is cool, this is basically like a fly spell that doesn't provoke opportunity attacks, so it's very cool if you want to be more mobile on the battlefield. Then you get Heart of the Storm on level 6, which you gain resistance to lightning and thunder damage, which is always nice to have. Whenever you start casting a spell of level 1 or higher that deals lightning or thunder damage, stormy magic erupts from you, so you basically are like a lightning conduit around you for 10 feet. The eruption causes creatures of your choice that you can see within 10 feet of you to take lightning or thunder damage. Choose each time the ability activates, equal to half your sorcerer level. This doesn't sound like much at first. It equals to like 3 damage every turn, but it does add up. And also if there's weakened enemies around you, you can kill them instantly. So it's always nice to have guaranteed AoE damage, but also AoE, I should say. But also remember that you have to be pretty close. 10 feet is not a lot. And as a sorcerer, you're very squishy, so this is not ideal unless you multi-class or beef up your hit points somehow, or your armor class. Then you get Storm Guide, which is another very flavorful ability. It's cool if you're on the ship and stuff like that. If it's raining, you can use an action to cast the rain to stop falling on 20-foot radius sphere centered around you, to end storms, for example, when you're traversing the sea. It would be really cool. You can end this effect as a bonus action. If it's windy, you can use a bonus action each round to choose the direction that the wind blows. This is also cool because, again, if you're on water, you can go in the direction you want at the current time. But again, in Baldur's Gate, I am not sure they're even going to implement it, if it's going to be something different, if it's going to, for sure it's not going to behave the same way. I'm sure they're going to add something else, which brings us to level 13, which I know is beyond the level cap of Baldur's Gate 3, but I won't be surprised if they somehow implement it to make the class more powerful in Baldur's Gate, because, to be honest, in tabletop, it is not one of the more powerful classes. It's actually a bit underwhelming when it comes to actual damage and other subclasses that Sorcerer have. So on level 13 normal, you get a thing that when you are hit by a melee attack, you can use your reaction to deal lightning damage to the attacker. The damage equals your sorcerer level. The attack must also make a tech must also make a strength saving throw against your sorcerer spell save DC. On a failed save, the attacker is pushed in a straight line up to 20 feet away from you. This is cool if you want to blow someone away, if you want to push someone away. So I know it's level 14, but I won't be surprised if they will actually make it on lower levels, so you have this amazing ability and just make the Storm Sorcerer more powerful. And this concludes this class for now. Next up, we have Bard's College of Swords, also called Blades. First of all, you get medium armor proficiency and are able to use scimitars. You also get to choose between a fighting style similar to a fighter, for example. You can choose either dual wielding or dueling. Dueling focusing, of course, on using one weapon, and dual wielding 2 weapons. You also have to choose how you want to build your character, either based on strength or dexterity. But remember, later on, if you pump up your dexterity, the medium armor is a bit redundant, because once your dexterity reaches a high enough level, for example 18 and up, your light armor will take over in giving you actually better AC, because medium armor gets a limit of 2 AC per dex. So 14 dex is the maximum that's actually trumps over light armor, but later on in the game, probably light armor you're gonna come back basically to using light armor. With 2 weapon fighting, remember that you actually use your bonus action in 5th edition to attack with your offhand, so it's not always beneficial when the bard is already very heavy on the action economy. For example, you want to use your songs. So the actual main feature of the College of Swords bard is the feature of Blade Flourish. You can either use a defensive flourish or a slashing flourish. Defensive, despite its name, actually adds to your damage. You expend 1 use of your bardic inspiration to cause the weapon to deal extra damage to the target you hit. Damage equals the number you roll on the bardic inspiration die. You also add the number rolled to your AC until the start of your next turn. So it's both offensive and defensive, but the main takeaway from this is that you actually are not using your bardic inspiration to support your allies or yourself. You have to use up its use. It's a pretty selfish subclass, because you use more stuff on yourself to make you more beefy in combat. In tabletop, it's actually not the strongest of the subclasses of Bard, because again, if you want to do more damage and focus on yourself, there are better classes for it, but it's very flavorful anyway, and I'm sure Larian will also tweak it to be better in the actual game. So also we have the Slashing Flourish, which does 1 use of your bardic inspiration to cause the weapon to deal extra damage to the target you hit and to any creature of your choice that you can see within 5 feet of you. The damage equals the number you roll on the bardic inspiration die. This is also a bit random. Remember, if you roll a 1, this is not going to be very effective. Same with Defensive Flourish. If you're going to roll a 6, you're going to pretty much be untouchable with +6 AC and doing a bunch of damage. With Slashing Flourish, it's nice because you pretty much have a whirlwind attack that you can use when you are surrounded by a bunch of weaker enemies, and you can kill them all in one round. So this is very dope, very cool thing to do, obviously. But it will be a bit situational, especially probably on later levels when enemies get more and more HP. You also have Mobile Flourish, which is the most situational. Expend 1 use of your bardic inspiration to cause the weapon to deal extra damage to the target you hit. The damage equals the number rolled on the bardic inspiration die. You can also push the target up to 5 feet away from you, plus the number of feet equal to the number you roll on the die. You can then immediately use your reaction to move up to your walking speed to an unoccupied space with 5 feet of the target. This is obviously pretty cool because it's like a shove that gonna find a lot of uses in Baldur's Gate. So it's situational, but it's also very cool to use. Extra attack on level 6, similar to, for example, fighters that get it on level 5, you get it level later as a bard, but it's still cool because you actually get 2 attacks as a bard, which as a pure bard normally does not happen. So it is a nice addition. Then we have Master's Flourish, but again, I am not sure if they will implement skills from higher levels to for example, move them, homebrew them to lower levels. So I'm not gonna discuss it further. I know I did it once with the Storm Sorcerer because I thought it's thematically gonna be better, and it's also a bit of an underpowered class. Blade, again, College of Sword, call it what you want. Again, is not maybe the most powerful bard, but it's still very fun, and I'm sure that Larian will make sure that the class feels great. Next, we move to our monk buddies. A new class revealed recently. We're gonna go through all 3 of their subclasses, starting with Way of the Open Hand Monk. This is the most classic monk, the one you think about when you, well, hear the class monk. So this is the one that on level 3 gains the open hand technique feature. It harnesses the power of your own ki. You're able to manipulate that of your enemies. Open hand technique is your most important feature from this subclass and buffs the monk's Flurry of Blows ability. Flurry of Blows obviously is the ability that after your initial attack you can use 2 attacks barehanded that does more damage, and also later on, I mean, it does 1d4 damage from what I remember, and it also has some other effects like shoving people away, stuff like that. It's very classical among the monk repertoire. So, for example, the creature must make a save a dexterity saving throw to be knocked or prone. To be knocked prone, I'm sorry, this video is really long. I'm messing my words a bit. The creature must succeed on a strength saving throw or be pushed up to 15 feet away from you. The creature can't take reactions until the end of the next turn. Those are 3 separate things, of course, that you can do when you use your Flurry of Blows. On level 6, we get Wholeness of Body, which is, as an action, you can regain hit points equal to 3 times your monk level. You must finish a long rest before you can use this feature again. It sounds amazing on paper, it heals a lot of HP, but it's also a bit of a trap, because remember how much stuff monks can do on a given turn. You have your Flurry of Blows, you have your basic attack, you have your bonus attacks that you can do a lot, and depending on the subclass, obviously it also changes, but now we're focusing on the open hand techniques. So it's nice to have a heal handy, but honestly, you have so much stuff to do as a monk that you won't probably use it a lot. You're probably more gonna use it during your downtime to heal when you don't want to use healing potions and stuff like that. Then later on level 11 we get Tranquility, which is a bit situational. You get the effect of a sanctuary spell that lasts until the start of your next long rest, which is nice to have, but as a monk you're probably gonna disable it pretty fast in combat. But it is something nice. For example, when something ambushes you, it cannot target you, so it's really a nice thing to have. It's also worth noting that on level 17, which is far beyond what we're gonna get in Baldur's Gate 3, you get Quivering Palm, which is really good, and I wonder if a lighter version of this will be implemented, because it's a staple of the open hand monk techniques, and it's just an amazing ability, and I wonder if somehow I'm not gonna go into detail, but it basically can one-hit KO something, or does a ton of damage. So I wonder if there's gonna be some lesser version in the monk abilities that they're gonna give us in the game. They said they're gonna homebrew quite a bit in the monk stuff, so I wonder if they're gonna add something else, or maybe a lesser version of this ability to the game. Next we get our Way of Shadow Monk, which is our ninja, which is our guy that loves to hide in the shadows. A little bit reminiscent of the Gloom Stalker. They're gonna make best buddies if you're gonna have both in your party. For example, on level 3, starting at level 3, you get to use your key to duplicate the effects of certain spells, so you get some cool, neat tricks from the Wizard School of Magic. As an action, you can spend 2 key points to cast Darkness, Dark Vision, Pass Without Trace, or Silence without providing material components. Additionally, you gain the Minor Illusion cantrip if you don't already know it. I'm not sure if Minor cantrip is already in Baldur's Gate 3, if they're gonna give us something else, but it's still a neat trick to have, and the spells are amazing, especially given the theme of the class. It's very useful when you want to hide in the shadows, or to, for example, Pass Without Trace is just amazing, because you basically can stay stealthed wherever and whenever you want. Then on level 6 we get this insane ability. Of course I have to a bit remind you a couple times in the video that the abilities will probably not be one-to-one from tabletop. Larian will probably change some things, so don't blame me if I say the class is amazing and it ends up being mediocre, or some abilities will be different. What we're doing in this video is obviously just summarizing what stuff is in the tabletop, and just want to show you the flavor of the classes, and also some abilities that will make it to the game for sure, but also it's good to know that some of them might work a bit differently in the actual game. So on level 6 we get Shadow Step, which in D&D tabletop is just amazing, because you gain the ability to step from one shadow into another. When you are in dim light or darkness, as a bonus action you can teleport up to 60 feet to an unoccupied space. You can see that is also in dim light or darkness. You then have advantage on the first melee attacks you make before the end of the next turn. So not only are monks already insanely mobile, you also are able to move freely on the battlefield as long as there is some shadow or darkness. So when you're in the Underdark, or when you're gonna be in some dark cellars and stuff like that, this is gonna be amazing. Obviously in bright light this is not gonna work, but it's still basically a free teleport, and on top of that you also get an advantage on your attack after you teleport through the shadows. So it's just being a ninja, it's just awesome. Then you get Cloak of Shadows on level 11. You have learned to become one with the shadows. When you are in an area of dim light or darkness, you can use your action to become invisible. You remain invisible until you make an attack, cast a spell, or are in the area of bright light. So just making you even more powerful in the shadows. It's really gonna have some cool synergy with other classes if you want to rely on being this edgy guy that just hides in the shadows, and we just do everything from the darkness. And now it's time to get into the Way of the Four Elements Monk, which is one of the more complicated subclasses in the game. I mean, I should say in the tabletop. We don't know what exactly is gonna be in the game. That's why I'm not gonna go through all of the features and all of the combinations you can pick and choose as you level up, because you have quite a bit of options, because we know that Larian's gonna homebrew a lot of the monk class themselves, so there's no point discussing the individual abilities. Just know that this is a monk that doubles into magic, obviously, and doubles into elements, so it's you could think that it's more of a wizard monk, but actually it's a bit closer to a warlock, because you don't really use that many spells, and you also don't want to really hang in the back that much. You want to obviously be more in the battle as a monk, so you're mix and matching your spells with your abilities. Monks by default has very important abilities like Stunning Strike on level 5, so you have to pick and choose what you want to use, and if the spell casting is the way that you want to go on your monk. It is not a very powerful class in tabletop, but I'm sure that Larian's gonna make it fun. That's why I don't want to get into details, because I'm sure this is the class that will be changed the most, probably, especially for the monk. So just know that there is a lot of elemental attunements going on. There is, for example, Fangs of the Fire Snake. If you choose the fire route, you can go the Four Thunders, Unbroken Air, if you want to do some Fusroda action from Skyrim. There's the Gale of Spirits, there is Water Whip. There's just so much to get into. This video is already too long, and I am not sure that Larian will actually do all of those features, or like what's basically gonna happen. So I don't want to get into it that much. Just know that this is a very fun class, but also pretty complicated, so I don't want to waste your time on explaining every single mechanic from the tabletop, because we just don't know how the class gonna look in the actual game. But the whole notion of being a wizardy monk is very appealing, and I'm sure the class is gonna be very, very fun. Now we arrive at the Archfey Warlock, a warlock that has his patron originating from the Feywild. It could be a powerful satyr, or perhaps, if you're evil aligned, some powerful nasty hag. So the role in the party they provide is they are very strongly focused on spellcasting. While they're just as capable of bombarding enemies with Eldritch Blast as any other warlock, these characters prefer to focus on spells that enhance others and can control the battlefield. There is obviously an expanded spell list, as with every subclass of the warlock. We get Fairy Fire, Sleep, Calm Emotions, Phantasmal Force, Blink, Plant Growth, Dominate Beast, Greater Invisibility, Dominate Person, and Seeming. Some of those abilities are not in the game. We'll see what will they be replaced by. On the early levels we have the all-powerful Sleep that is very, very good on early levels. It can pretty much make the early encounters trivial if it hits. Fairy Fire is also very useful. It's more of your, well, happy-go-lucky warlock, you can say, that focuses more on distracting enemies and bouncing stuff back to them. For example, Fey Presence. As an action, you can cause each creature in a 10-foot cube originating from you to make a wisdom saving throw against your warlock spell save DC. This creature that fails their saving throws are all charmed or frightened by you, your choice, until the end of your next turn. This is kinda nice to have, but let's go further. This video is already really long, so I just want to go through all the abilities. And now on level 6 we get Misty Escape. When you take damage, you can use your reaction to turn invisible and teleport up to 60 feet to an unoccupied space you can see. You remain invisible until the start of your next turn, or until your attack or cast a spell. A nice defensive option to have for sure. Then on level 10 you get Beguiling, sorry for my English, defenses. You are immune to being charmed. Very nice feature. When another creature attempts to charm you, you can actually bounce it back as your reaction and charm back the creature that tried to charm you. The creature must succeed on a wisdom saving throw against your warlock spell DC or be charmed by you for 1 minute or until the creature takes any damage. Let's see if it's gonna be implemented the same way. Finally, we arrive at the Oath of Vengeance Paladin, which is a very popular subclass in D&D. It's quite powerful and it's also quite flavorful. Tenets of the Oath of Vengeance, obviously there is some additional stuff that you have to abide to. If you're a Vengeance Paladin, it's gonna come up in the game. We already know that from the other subclasses, and we obviously can also be an Oathbreaker. If you break some of those tenets, then you gonna be a, well, Fallen Paladin. Gonna have, we don't have to go through it, you know how it works, and you're gonna lose those abilities, but we are here to explain the ones you actually get if you abide by being a vengeful son of a bitch. The bonus spells you get as an Oath of Vengeance Paladin are also very powerful. For example, on level 3 you get Bane and Hunter's Mark. Hunter's Mark adds very nice damage, especially on early levels for you. Bane is more situational, but also nice to have. Hold Person, if you land it, is great. Misty Step adds much needed mobility to the Paladin, because we don't have much as Paladins, so it's really nice to have. Then you have Haste, which self-explanatory, is one of the most powerful buffs in the game. Protection from energy, nice to have. Then we have Banishment, Dimension Door, Hold Monster and Scrying, but those abilities are beyond our level cap, so I'm not sure if they will be implemented for the Paladin. So the main features of the Paladin of Vengeance that most people, why they take this class, is the Channel of Divinity that they have, and most importantly, Vow of Enmity. As a bonus action, you can utter a Vow of Enmity against a creature you can see within 10 feet of you. You gain advantage on attack rolls against that creature for 1 minute or until it drops dead. So it's very great, it's a very good ability that basically makes you a boss killer. It makes you do tons of damage to your given enemy, to your chosen enemy, when you add Hunter's Mark, when you add Smites, when you add just the front-loaded damage that Paladins have. It's just amazing and can make some boss encounters even quite trivial, because it's just a lot of damage that you can deal, and it also lasts for quite a while, so it's just amazing. Alternatively, you can also choose to abjure enemy, which is also nice. I'm just gonna tell you quickly what it does. As an action, you present your holy symbol and choose one creature within 60 feet of you that you can see. That creature must make a wisdom saving throw unless it is immune to being frightened. Fiends and undead have disadvantage on the saving throw. On a failed save, the creature is frightened for 1 minute or until it takes any damage. While frightened, the creature's speed is 0 and it cannot benefit from any bonus to its speed. On a successful save, the creature's speed is halved for 1 minute or until the creature takes any damage. Nice, situational, but let's not lie to ourselves. Vow of Enmity is why you take this class most of the time. Then on level 7, we get the Relentless Avenger. When you hit a creature with an opportunity attack, you can move up to half your speed immediately after the attack, and as a part of the same action, the movement does not provoke attack of opportunity. It's really nice. It goes into the theme that we already have with our Vengeance Paladin. You basically chase targets down, you don't let up, and when you combine it with, for example, a Polearm Mastery, which is confirmed as a feat in Baldur's Gate 3, it makes you a force to be reckoned with. Also, when someone runs away from you, you just basically don't let up until the enemy is dead. So it's a very single target focused class, but it just is very powerful. So, originally I planned to include the cleric domains and the wizard schools in this video, but because it is already way too long, I decided to post it in another video. I hope you understand, I just don't want to keep you guys here forever. I'm gonna discuss the knowledge, nature, tempest and war domain, and also I'm gonna discuss the wizard's conjuration, divination, enhancement, necromancy, illusion and transmutation schools in a future video. I hope you stay tuned. Let me know how you like this video, if I should fix something. For sure there are things I can improve upon, and I am very open to critique. This is a new channel, so I'm really glad of every single person that clicks on this video. If you leave a like, it's gonna be very nice as well. I'm gonna be very, very happy. So thank you for watching. Let me know what else you want to see on the channel. The panel of from hell is coming up. I'm gonna stream this on my Twitch channel. We're gonna discuss the new features that probably gonna be announced as well. If you want a place to hang out I have my Twitch channel in the description. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time.